Y'all, JD Vance just got on a microphone and eviscerated the media right to their face for doing exactly what they're doing. And more importantly, he says some other things here that we really need to talk about. The live stream tonight is going to really dive into some of the things that we're going to discuss. But for this one, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. We are driving to save this country. And times like this is when truth is the most important. And could we just stop acting a fool? That'd be great. Okay. Of course, the live stream is at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll see you there. Let's jump right into this. This is something you guys need to see, which sets up that show. All right. Of course, this is the vice president, and he just did a press conference with the media, and I'll be honest with you, he did exactly what I wished he would have done. He basically verbally backhanded the crap out of them for the manipulation and the misinformation that they are spewing because they want the political advantage. Honest to God. Now, I've got 3 clips of him I'm going to show you, and the last one sets up the live stream, so make sure you watch this whole video. Watch this. Again, this is what most Americans are thinking about this situation. I think it surmises it pretty well. Let me know what you think in the comments if it's accurate to your position, and then we'll see you on the other side. Hold on.
When I was actually walking out here, somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
That didn't leave a lot to imagination. Now here's the thing, and again, I've said this a couple times. I'll even go bigger for you guys, just for anyone in the leftosphere that wants to try to take this out of context. I am saddened by this woman's death. I don't want her to die. I don't want anyone to die. I don't want her to be in that situation. Personally, and you're going to see this more on the live stream tonight, I'm going to show you the underlying current that's causing all of this. We're going to dive into this, but we're also going to dive into what is being positioned for these people and how they're putting themselves in harm's way and then creating these instances. All the while, the far left agitators are shipped in when something inevitably happens. We're going to cover all of that. It's a very important live stream. But I don't want this to happen. JD Vance is very articulate in that. It's not a good thing. This is a very clear, very demonstrated, very provable fact that this was a agitation disruption that ended extremely badly. I don't want this to happen. I don't want her to do this. I don't want them to be in that situation. But let's continue, because again, he's going after the media, and in my opinion, they are mostly to blame. There's some other actors. Again, we're going to cover all of this, but he's just opened a can of whoop ass, and honestly, they deserve it. Because listen to this.
Part of that network justify being shot.
Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers. I'm sorry, guys. What's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws? You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Next question.
The investigation is still ongoing.
I said next question.
Yep, again. He even says it right there. No one wants this stuff to happen. It's bad. It's awful. But the media, in this case, they are not they are not being misled. This is who they are. This is the very reason a lot of us even have careers. This is the reason my YouTube channel exists, is because these people lie with impunity. It's all about crafting and drafting a narrative in order to get a desired outcome. Again, that will come in later tonight in the live stream. But JD Vance is nailing that. And I would be willing to bet a pretty good wager that a lot of you watching this feel that exact same way. I don't want anyone to die. It's awful she died. But again, the forces that are manipulating her to do it and people like her to do it are the ones that are taking full advantage while she is still deceased. That's the nefarious part about this whole thing. More to come. But this is kind of like a little bit of a segue that he wraps this little press conference up with. This is kind of where we're going on the live stream. If you're still with me in this video, we are about 7 minutes in. This is a perfect setup, and it's where I'll pick up the live stream tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Listen.
Of dignity and respect, and the fact that they're not is why incidents like yesterday happened. The one final point I'll make about this is, look, there's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology. What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing, not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them. To get to that point, you have to be, I think, radicalized in a very, very sad way. I certainly wish that she hadn't got there. I know there's an ICE officer right now who very much wishes he was not put in the position where he had to fire a gun to defend his own life.
That's a pretty good summation, and it's what we're going to talk about in a much longer, drawn-out, supported video tonight in our live stream. The left has set the table and primed these people so much that all they have to do is sit back and wait for something to happen, and then they send their agitators in, and all of a sudden, you've got an outrage protest. Y'all, they do the same thing in the 2A space. They do the same thing in the gun control space. They do the same thing in every space. It is manipulation. And I'm going to show you the entire thing tonight. Make sure you see me 9 p.m. Eastern time. I am Braden. I'll see you on the next one.